A few weeks ago, something happened that left me frozen. I was talking on the phone with my daughter, and suddenly, I could not remember the name of my own nephew. It was on the tip of my tongue, but it would not come out. I fell silent, mind blank, and I only managed to say, "That one. Your sister's son. You know who." It was a brief instant, but it shook me as if it had lasted an hour. I hung up and stayed seated, staring at the floor, with a single idea repeating in my head. Am I starting to lose my memory? I always thought those little lapses were normal, that it was a matter of age, of tiredness, or of stress. But this time was not like the others. This time, I felt fear. Fear of not recognizing a familiar face. Fear of forgetting my grandchildren's names. Fear of disappearing while still alive. That was when I decided to do something. Not something extreme, not a drug, not a strange pill. I started with something as simple as a teaspoon. 1 teaspoon upon waking, every morning. And what happened surprised me. In only 2 weeks, I began to notice changes. I remembered more clearly the things I had done during the day. Names, dates, details sprang to mind. I felt more focused, more present. Today, I want to tell you exactly what I did, what that teaspoon contains, and why it can help you too. This is not about miracles. It is not a magic cure, nor a secret formula. But it is something natural, accessible, and above all, backed by science. Something that can become part of your routine, without major complications, but with major benefits. This video is not only for those who feel they are forgetting things, it is for everyone who wants to protect their mind, regain mental agility, and live with more clarity in every stage of life. What you are about to hear can make the difference between watching the days go by or truly living them. And before we begin, I want to get to know you. How old are you, and where are you watching me from? I would love to know. Leave it in the comments, because what we are going to share here can help all of us. When I turned 70, someone told me a phrase that stuck with me. After 70, if you forget where you put the keys, that is normal. If you forget what they are for, that is another story. And it is true. It happens to all of us that a word slips away, we do not remember the name of a movie, or we mix up the day. But that is not always a sign of something serious. With the years, our memory changes. It is not that it vanishes all at once, nor that our brain stops working from one day to the next. What happens is subtler, slower. It is as if some connections inside the mind begin to dim little by little. And those connections that once were lightning fast now become clumsy, slow, unstable. This has several natural causes. First, the brain loses volume over time. It literally shrinks, and with it, the number of neural connections declines. Second, certain neurotransmitters decrease. They are like messengers that help transmit information between neurons. And third, something very important. Our body starts absorbing fewer essential nutrients, such as B vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids, and other compounds that keep the brain in shape. In addition, many older adults unknowingly fall into states of chronic inflammation. That inflammation does not feel like a fever or a pain, but it acts silently, affecting the brain's functioning, especially in areas like memory and concentration. Now then, not every lapse is a red flag. There are the so-called benign age-related forgettings. For example, you enter a room and forget what you were going to look for. That happens to anyone, even young people. But when you forget important recent events, repeat the same questions many times, or get lost in familiar places, it is time to pay attention. There we are no longer talking only about normal aging, but perhaps about something more serious, like mild cognitive impairment, or even the onset of diseases such as Alzheimer's. But here comes something almost nobody says. Memory can improve, not always, and not in every case, but yes, in many, especially when the problem is not an advanced disease, but the consequence of poor habits, nutritional deficiencies, or lack of mental stimulation. The brain, although it ages, retains something wonderful: neuroplasticity. That is, the ability to adapt, to change, to form new connections. And that is where what we eat, what we do, how we sleep, and what kind of life we lead comes into play. Because the brain also needs nourishment, and what nourishes it can also save it. In this video, I'm not going to sell you any magic solution, but I will tell you what I did, what worked for me, and what I learned in this process. And I will tell you up front, it was much simpler than I imagined. A single teaspoon every morning was the beginning of the change. But before I tell you what that teaspoon contains, I want you to stay with me to understand how I arrived at it. Because it was not luck nor coincidence. It was a decision. The first time I heard about this small ritual of the teaspoon was, like many important things in life, almost by chance. I had gone to visit an old friend, Andrew, with whom I had worked many years before. He is the same age as I am, 82, but he seemed sharper than ever. He remembered conversations, dates, names, even anecdotes I had completely forgotten. We sat down for coffee, and in the middle of the chat, I asked him directly, "Andrew, how do you keep your memory so crisp?" He laughed as if downplaying it, and told me something that made me frown. "I just take 1 teaspoon every morning, nothing else." I thought he was joking. 1 teaspoon? Of what? Magic? But no, he explained calmly. He told me about a natural preparation he had been using for months, something a naturopathic doctor had recommended to him at a retreat for older adults. He insisted it was not a medicine, nor a miraculous supplement, but a blend of ingredients you can get anywhere. I went home with that phrase circling in my head. 1 teaspoon every morning. I mentioned it to my wife, who is usually skeptical about these things, but she herself had noticed my absent-mindedness in recent weeks. So for the first time in a long time, I decided to try. After all, what could I lose? The next day, I prepared my teaspoon according to Andrew's directions. Its taste was strong but not unpleasant. I took it on an empty stomach with a glass of warm water. I did not feel anything special at that moment. No tingling, no magic spark, no sudden clarity, just the start of a habit. The first 3 days I noticed no change. I doubted. I thought maybe I'd gotten my hopes up too much, but I kept going. And on the 5th day, something happened. I got up and felt more rested than usual. I had not tossed and turned in bed during the night. I remembered the dream I had had, which had not happened in years. During breakfast, my wife mentioned that we had to call our grandson for his birthday, and without thinking, I said the exact date. She looked at me in surprise. I did too. It was not a drastic, immediate change, but it was as if a fog was slowly lifting from my mind, as if the words were returning to their place, as if the memories were becoming sharper. I stuck with the routine. Every morning, the same teaspoon. By 10 days, I could already concentrate better when reading. I got distracted less. I did not get lost in conversations. I even went back to writing my journal, something I had stopped years ago because I struggled to string ideas together. And that was when I understood. Sometimes, solutions do not come in expensive bottles, nor with strange names. Sometimes they come in the form of a small gesture, steady yet powerful. I am not going to reveal what that teaspoon contains just yet, because first I want to explain why it works, which natural ingredients can help your brain, and how they act on memory. Because before trusting, it is important to understand. And what comes now may surprise you as much as it did me. The base blend, ingredients that feed memory. The time has come to tell you what many have been waiting for. What is in that teaspoon I took every morning? What combination so simple can spark such a notable change in memory, concentration, and mental clarity? The answer lies in a natural blend of only 3 ingredients. 3 elements that, used together, amplify one another, and that you can easily find in any supermarket or herbal shop. They are the following: extra virgin coconut oil, ground turmeric, and a pinch of freshly ground black pepper. I know it may sound strange, but I will explain it step by step. First, extra virgin coconut oil. This oil has gained fame in recent years, but what not everyone knows is that it has a direct impact on the brain. And no, it is not just a fad. Coconut oil contains fats called medium-chain triglycerides, which the body converts into ketones. These ketones act as an alternative source of energy for the brain, especially when glucose is not used well, something that happens in many older people. Ketones help improve cognitive function, keep neurons active, and protect the brain from decline, and all this without needing extreme diets nor drastic changes. Second, turmeric. Turmeric is a golden root, native to Asia, that has been used for centuries for its medicinal properties. Its main component is called curcumin, and multiple studies have shown that it has a powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effect, especially in the brain. Brain inflammation is one of the silent factors that affect memory, mood, and mental agility. Turmeric helps reduce that inflammation, protect neurons, and in some cases, even stimulate the growth of new brain connections. In addition, curcumin can improve mood and combat that cloudy mind feeling many people experience as they age. Third, black pepper. This small detail makes a big difference. Black pepper contains a substance called piperine, which not only gives it its characteristic flavor, but also increases the body's absorption of curcumin by up to 2,000%. That is, without black pepper, much of turmeric's benefit is lost. A pinch of black pepper activates and multiplies the effect of the other ingredients, allowing them to truly reach the brain and exert their protective and restorative function. How do you prepare it? It is very simple. Each morning, on an empty stomach if possible, mix on a tablespoon 1 teaspoon of extra virgin coconut oil, half a teaspoon of good quality ground turmeric, a pinch of freshly ground black pepper. Take it directly, or if you prefer, mix it into a glass of warm water, an herbal infusion, or even with plain yogurt. It does not taste bad, though at first it may seem strong if you are not used to it. And if you do not tolerate one of these ingredients, there are alternatives. For example, if coconut oil upsets your stomach, you can try extra virgin olive oil, though the ketogenic effect will be lower. If turmeric causes digestive issues, you can start with smaller doses, or look for turmeric extract with piperine already formulated, which is gentler. And if for some reason you cannot consume black pepper, look for liposomal or encapsulated curcumin, which has better absorption without pepper. But if you can, I encourage you to try the original blend. It is affordable, simple, and surprisingly powerful. This is the starting point. But as you will see next, this teaspoon is only the first step on a much broader path toward a clearer mind and a more awake brain. What science says about these ingredients? At this point you may be thinking, all right, that sounds interesting, but is this backed by science, or is it just folk belief? And that is more than a fair question. Because when we talk about health, it is not enough that something seems natural or a friend recommended it. We also need proof, evidence. And the truth is, yes, there is serious research supporting the use of these ingredients, especially in the context of memory and brain aging. Let us look at some examples. Turmeric and memory, UCLA study. One of the best-known studies was carried out by the University of California, Los Angeles. In this study, adults between 60 and 90 years old participated. They did not have dementia, but did have mild memory problems. For 18 months, one group received a curcumin supplement, the active compound in turmeric, while the other group took a placebo, that is, something with no effect. The result? Those who took curcumin improved their memory and attention by more than 25% compared to the group that did not. In addition, brain scans showed less buildup of harmful proteins associated with Alzheimer's. The researchers highlighted that curcumin reduces inflammation in the brain and acts as an antioxidant, which helps keep the mind clearer and better protected over time. Healthy fats, direct energy for the brain. Coconut oil, for its part, has been studied as an alternative energy source for older adults. As we age, the brain becomes less efficient at using glucose. It is as if the fuel no longer flowed as before. But here ketones come into play, which the body produces from fats, like those in coconut oil. These ketones are like an energy plan B for the brain. Some reports, such as those by Dr. Mary Newport, who documented her husband's improvement with dementia after consuming coconut oil, show how ketones can temporarily improve cognitive function, even in people with moderate decline. Although more large-scale research is needed, there is growing evidence that healthy fats not only do not harm, but can protect the brain, as long as they are consumed in moderation and within a balanced lifestyle. Ancestral wisdom and population data. Sometimes the best clue is not in a lab, but in communities that live longer and better. There are regions of the world where people not only reach 90 or 100 years, but do so with intact mental clarity. These places are known as the blue zones. A study conducted in Okinawa, Japan, showed that many elders included turmeric in their daily diet, often as teas or incorporated into dishes. In other areas, such as rural India, where turmeric consumption is high, the incidence of Alzheimer's is significantly lower than in Western countries. Is this definitive proof? Number. But it is a signal worth observing. When millions of people, over generations, consume an ingredient and live longer and better, there must be something there. Not a fad, recovered wisdom. Sometimes natural things are dismissed for seeming old, simple, or slow. But in reality, the opposite is true. Natural things are often those that have withstood the test of time. And what has been used by grandmothers, healers, traditional doctors, and now by modern researchers, has something to tell us. That is why this blend of coconut oil, turmeric, and black pepper is not a magic solution, but it is a real tool to support your brain. And the best part, it is within reach of your kitchen, needs no prescription, and you can start as soon as tomorrow. Of course, like anything, it works best if you pair it with other habits that protect your memory. And that is what we will talk about in the next part. What you can do, day by day, to make this teaspoon even more powerful. Other habits that boost the teaspoon's effect. So far, we have talked about a teaspoon, a simple blend that can help awaken your memory and protect your mind. But as often happens in life, there are no magic solutions if the rest of your days are full of bad habits. The teaspoon is powerful, yes, but its effect multiplies when you accompany it with daily decisions that care for your brain. Think of it this way. If you plant a good seed, you need sun, water, and fertile soil for it to grow. Coconut oil, turmeric, and pepper are that seed. But your lifestyle is the ground where you choose to sow it. Sleep well, the first great pillar. Sleep is not just rest. During sleep, the brain performs a deep cleaning, literally. While you sleep, a system called the glymphatic system is activated, which removes toxins accumulated during the day. Among them are proteins that, if they linger too long in the brain, are associated with Alzheimer's. That is why sleeping between 7 and 8 hours each night is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And not only the amount matters, the quality does too. Sleeping with the television on, having coffee in the afternoon, or looking at your phone right before closing your eyes can interfere with that deep rest your mind needs. Move daily, not just walking. Many people believe that walking a little now and then is enough, but regular movement has far deeper benefits. When you walk, circulation activates, more oxygen reaches the brain, endorphins are released, and a protein called BDNF is stimulated, which helps create new brain connections. You do not need to go to the gym, nor make great efforts. 20 or 30 minutes of walking a day are enough, preferably outdoors. If you can take the stairs, dance a bit, or do gentle balance and strength exercises, even better. Movement is life, and it is memory too. Avoid excess sugar. Sugar is one of the brain's silent enemies. Excess consumption not only increases the risk of diabetes and overweight, but directly affects memory. It raises insulin levels, inflames the brain, and can damage the small arteries that nourish it. That does not mean you can never treat yourself. But do avoid ultra-processed products, soft drinks, industrial sweets, and breakfast cereals loaded with sugar. Choose fresh fruit, nuts, plain oats, and water. Hydrate well. It seems obvious, but many older adults live dehydrated without knowing it. Thirst diminishes with age, and that makes many drink less than they should. But the brain is water, literally, and a constant lack of hydration can cause mental fatigue, headaches, poor concentration, and forgetfulness. A simple rule: 1 glass of water when you get up, 1 before each meal, and another before bed. If you do not like it plain, add a few drops of lemon or slices of cucumber. A simple yet powerful morning routine. Many have asked me, and how do you do it? Well, my routine is very simple. I will share it in case it helps. I get up and drink a big glass of water. I take a short walk around the neighborhood, 15 or 20 minutes, unhurried. On returning, I take my teaspoon of coconut oil with turmeric and black pepper. Then I sit down to read something inspiring. 10 minutes, sometimes a book, other times a phrase that makes me reflect. And then I start the day. It does not always go perfectly. There are days when my knees ache, or when it rains and I do not go out. But keeping this structure has given me something valuable: focus, energy, and above all, a sense that my mind is awake. The teaspoon helps, but what you do with your day also counts. I want you to be clear. This blend we share today is not a miraculous cure. It is support, a nudge, a help that the body appreciates, but that needs your daily commitment to deliver real results. The secret lies in the sum of small things: sleep well, walk, eat better, hydrate, stimulate your mind, and yes, take that teaspoon with intention, with consistency, and with faith. Because caring for your memory is not about fighting time. It is about choosing how to live the time you still have. Foods that harm memory without you realizing it. A few months ago, at a senior center gathering, I met Mrs. Clara. A charming woman, 79 years old, always smiling and careful with her health. She told me that for years she had followed a very strict diet, avoiding sugar, eating light, and having low-fat yogurts every day. But she also confessed something that worried her. Lately, she was forgetting words, losing the thread of conversations, and feeling mentally foggy. Reviewing what she ate together, we discovered something many people do not know. Despite her good intentions, many of the foods she consumed were full of ingredients that harm memory. Yes, even those that look healthy at first glance. 1. Hidden sugars, the silent enemy. When we talk about sugar, most people think of sweets, pastries, or soft drinks. But the real problem is the hidden sugars, those that disguise themselves under other names in products that seem healthy. Light yogurts, cereals, granola bars, packaged fruit juices, industrial whole grain breads. Excess sugar causes brain inflammation, interferes with insulin production, and can impair long-term memory. In fact, some studies already call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because of the direct relationship between excess sugar and cognitive decline. My advice: read labels. If you see words like corn syrup, glucose, dextrose, sucrose, or anything ending in OC, be careful. Whole fruit, yes. Daily cake, better not. 2. Trans fats, poison for your mind. Have you seen those cookies that last 6 months without going stale? Or snacks that will not melt even in the sun? All that often contains trans fats, a type of artificial fat that extends a product's shelf life, but shortens yours, especially your brain's. These fats increase bad cholesterol, decrease good cholesterol, and cause inflammation in the body and nervous system. According to several studies, regular consumption of trans fats is directly linked to a higher likelihood of cognitive decline and memory problems. Where do they hide? In margarines, industrial pastries, pre-cooked foods, frozen fried items, microwave popcorn, among others. My advice? Look on labels for the phrase partially hydrogenated oils. If it is there, it is better to leave that product on the shelf. 3. Ultra-processed foods. More ingredients, less nutrition. A simple rule: the more ingredients a product label has, the less real it is. Ultra-processed foods not only contain sugar and harmful fats, but also additives, colorings, preservatives, and flavor enhancers that can affect brain health. Most worrying is that these products overwhelm your senses without truly nourishing your body, causing nutritional deficiencies that directly affect memory. and they do it without you noticing. Mrs. Clara, for example, had a daily fat-free and sugar-free yogurt, but it was loaded with artificial sweeteners, thickeners, and colorings. Since she returned to plain yogurt with a spoonful of fruit and a handful of nuts, she noticed her mind was clearer in the mornings. What can you do? It is not about living in fear, nor about reading every label with a magnifying glass, though if you can, even better. The key is to return to the simple. Prefer home-cooked food over packaged food. Buy products with few ingredients you recognize when you read them. Cook with olive or coconut oil and limit industrial fried foods. If you are going to eat bread, make it truly whole grain, or better yet, choose oats or fruit. Remember, what you eat reaches your blood, and your blood feeds your brain. It is not about being on a diet, but about choosing consciously what enters your body and how it influences your mind. 3 superfoods for your brain, in addition to the blend. So far, we have talked a lot about what you should avoid and about that powerful teaspoon that can improve your memory. But today, I want to give you something more. Concrete options you can easily add to your diet to care for your brain every day. Because while removing the harmful is an important step, feeding the brain the right things is even more powerful. There are certain foods that science and experience agree on recommending to keep the mind active, agile, and protected over time. And no, they are not expensive nor hard to find. Here are 3 superfoods, and 1 extra, that can help keep your memory in shape for many more years. 1. Walnuts, tiny jewels for neurons. Walnuts do not just look like a brain, they nourish it. They are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and vitamin E, nutrients that protect neurons from decline and support communication among them. Several studies have shown that regular walnut consumption can improve working memory, attention, and mental speed in older adults. They also help keep the heart healthy, and you know, what is good for the heart is also good for the brain. How to have them? A small handful a day between 4 and 6 halves is enough. Add them to yogurt, to oats, or simply eat them as a snack. Avoid those that come salted or fried, always raw or lightly toasted. 2. Blueberries, the brain's favorite antioxidant. Blueberries, those small purple fruits, are rich in flavonoids, especially anthocyanins, which help improve communication between neurons and protect them from premature aging. In a study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, older adults who consumed blueberry juice for 12 weeks showed improvements in learning and verbal memory. How to include them? You can eat them fresh if you can find them, or frozen. Add them to breakfast, mix them with banana or apple, or include them in a smoothie with plant milk. If there are no blueberries, you can use blackberries or raspberries, which have similar benefits. 3. Chia seeds, energy and focus in every spoon. These tiny seeds are an excellent source of plant-based omega-3, fiber, and protein. They also contain antioxidants and minerals such as calcium, magnesium, and zinc, all necessary for proper brain function. One of their virtues is that they provide slow-release energy, ideal for maintaining concentration and avoiding those mid-morning or mid-afternoon mental dips. How to have them? Soak 1 tablespoon of chia seeds in half a glass of water or plant milk for at least 15 minutes. They will become gel-like, and you can add them to smoothies, yogurt, oats, or even salads. You can also prepare chia pudding, mixing the seeds with milk and leaving it overnight. Bonus: the egg, the natural source of choline. Although it has sometimes been unfairly criticized, the egg is one of the most complete and beneficial foods for the brain. Its yolk is rich in choline, an essential nutrient that helps produce acetylcholine, a key neurotransmitter for memory. In addition, the egg provides high-quality protein, vitamin B12, and antioxidants such as lutein, which also protects eyesight. How to eat it? 1 per day is a safe amount for most healthy people. You can have it boiled, in an omelette, scrambled, or baked. The important thing is not to overuse saturated fats when cooking it. The brain snack, an easy mix for the week. For those peckish moments between meals, I suggest the brain snack. 1 cup of walnuts, half a cup of unsweetened dried blueberries, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. A bit of natural shredded coconut. Optional, small chunks of dark chocolate with more than 70% cacao. Store it in a glass jar and have a small handful daily. It is delicious, nutritious, and gives your brain what it needs. Common mistakes when taking supplements or home remedies. Many people with good intentions make mistakes that cancel out the benefits. If you want this to work, avoid these errors. Mistake 1. Believing more is better. If 1 teaspoon helps, 2 or 3 do not help twice as much. Too much coconut oil can cause digestive upset or raise cholesterol. High doses of turmeric can cause heartburn or interfere with anticoagulants. Natural does not always mean harmless. Start with 1 teaspoon a day. Give your body time to adapt and consult a doctor if you have doubts. Mistake 2. Quitting too soon. We expect immediate results, but the body does not work like that. The changes are subtle at first. You may not feel anything in the first 2 weeks, but that does not mean it is not working. Natural processes require time. Give it at least 1 month alongside good habits. Mistake 3. Taking it without changing anything else. A supplement is not an excuse to keep eating poorly, sleeping little, and not moving. Your body is like an orchestra. Every instrument must be in tune for the ensemble to work. Pair your teaspoon with movement, rest, good nutrition, and a positive mental attitude. So then, what should I do? Create a sustainable routine. 1 teaspoon upon waking, 1 glass of water when you get up, a short walk outdoors, 10 minutes. Nutritious breakfast, eggs, fruit, nuts, or oats. Read or do simple brain games. Avoid excess sugar, stress, and screens. The secret lies in the sum of good habits, sustained with care, patience, and commitment. Changes I did not expect. When I started with the teaspoon every morning, I wanted to improve my memory. And yes, I noticed more agility and clarity. But other benefits surprised me. More energy upon waking. Before, getting up was a battle. After 2 to 3 weeks, I felt lighter when I opened my eyes, with more mood and deeper rest, more stable mood. Anything used to irritate me. Over time, things no longer affected me as much. I responded more calmly and had more patience, less anxiety during the day. Before I worried about everything constantly. That nervousness gradually faded. Worries pass like clouds now. They no longer linger all day. My mind is more awake and less foggy. I used to live in a soft haze. Today the lights are clearer, ideas come faster. I remember more things, and I do not get lost in conversation. All with consistency, intention, and a daily teaspoon. Where to start? Where to buy the ingredients? Extra virgin coconut oil, natural stores, supermarkets, or online. Choose virgin, cold-pressed, and unrefined. Ground turmeric, the spice section of any supermarket. Organic is preferable. Ground. Black pepper, very common, ideally freshly ground. Prep for the whole week. In a small glass jar, 7 teaspoons of coconut oil, half a teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper. Mix and store in a cool, dry place. Take 1 teaspoon every morning. Best time, on an empty stomach, after waking, before breakfast, accompanied by warm water or your usual infusion. The important thing is to take it every day at the same time. Daily log. Write in a notebook how you feel each day. Today I woke up with more energy. I clearly remembered what I did yesterday. I felt less anxious. With days you will see patterns, and it will motivate you to continue. Start simple. If you forget one day, nothing happens. If you do not have turmeric but do have the oil, take that anyway. The important thing is not perfection, but consistency. I thought I was losing my mind when I could not remember my nephew's name. I felt fear. But I found something small that gave me hope back. A simple teaspoon. It was not miraculous nor instantaneous, but day after day, something awoke. A light turned on where there had been fog. Remember, you do not need to be perfect, only consistent. You do not need to do much, only begin. You do not need to be 20 years old, only willing. Do it for yourself, for your mind, for your memories. There is still so much left to remember.